Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the Lean Application in Private and Public Sector. My name is Hilal Ghefaili, and I'm working at Petroleum Development Oman as Production Forecasting Engineer. Today's webinar is a very special webinar. It's a new culture, it's a new way of thinking, and it's one of the most effective tools that can be utilized in private and public sectors to improve the work and also to improve the cost and the quality by just minimizing the waste. And this webinar is part of a series of webinars conducted by Oman National Young Professional Committee. And the main objective of these seminars is to provide a knowledge and also awareness about the trending topics in oil and gas industry, and also about the new updates and the new in the new world. So now it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk about the lean application in private and public sector, Nasser bin Khalifa al-Kindi. He graduated with a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from Sultan Qaboos University in 2007. Since Nasser, he joined Petroleum Development Oman and scaled in career in well engineering. He then researched in non-flow technology to qualify a master degree in science from the same university in 2014. Nasser qualified as a lean practitioner before being qualified as a CI coach and continuing in his development in Lean Six Sigma field to be certified in Green Belt and Black Belt as well. Then he certified from internationally accredited as Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt in 2019 to be known as the first Omani qualified with such certification in the organization. Nasser, beside his main assignment in BDO as a member of CI leadership team in Cheng and CI function, he's also leading the deployment of Lean and CI in the government sector since 2018 as part of the MOU signed between BDO and ISFU. Nasser is focused in developing Omani capability in continuous improvement to renown Oman as the center of excellence in lean and continuous improvement in the region. Nasser, I'm extremely delighted to have you here today and to talk about the lean tools, the lean applications, to talk about the sidebook and also the value stream mapping, the Gemba walk, and this of the tool that we have currently in the lean. So Nasser, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you, Hilal, for the introduction. Assalamu alaikum and good evening for everybody who joined us through Twitter and YouTube. So as mentioned by Hilal, our session will be talking about lean application in private and public sector. We are going to spend together the next 40 to 45 minutes talking about the topic, and we are going to do that basically through three main agenda items. So the first part will be about lean fundamentals, because I do understand that the audience are at different level when it comes to their knowledge about lean. So we'll talk about what's lean history. We'll touch base some of the basic lean philosophies and tools, the ones that they mentioned by Hilal, the like of Gamba walks, value stream mapping, Cyborg, and the rest of the tools. And then we'll talk specifically on the main topic of the presentation or of the session, which is how we applied lean basically in the private sector, specifically in BDO, why lean was started in BDO, what is our journey since we started in 2009, and then later on also we'll give some examples of the lean benefits. I think the third part will be the most interesting part, because maybe many of the audience are working in the government sector, and how we are basically, or how we successfully implemented lean or deployed lean in 5 different entities once it comes to the government sector. So again, I will try to basically cover most of the points in the next 40 to 45 minutes, but this will be still at very high level. In case you need more details, then by all means we can have basically another chat offline, or we can basically arrange another sessions with more details discussion in each of those agenda items. As part of lean fundamentals, so when we talk about lean, if you Google the word lean, you will find so many definitions in Google, but they are all basically agree on certain words. It's all about most value, and the value is not from any perspective. It has to be from the customer perspective. It's all about talking about how we can consume fewest resources, how we can utilize the talent of the people who do the work. So the title or the definition that we selected in video is provide the most value from the customer perspective while consuming the fewest resources and utilizing the talents of the people who do the work. Traditional management, normally they focus on the end result. So they focus about how many items we produce or how many service we basically deliver. Whereas in lean, we don't really focus on the end result, because for us, if we focus on the 3 Bs, if we focus on the purpose for everything we do, we need to have a purpose. And in order to achieve the purpose, we need to design the proper process. And for the proper process to work as should be or as intended, then the people has to be skilled so that they can deal with the process to achieve the purpose. Now, if we focus on those 3 Bs, then the result will be a natural thing. We don't have to care anymore about the result, because if you have a clear purpose with a proper process and the people are skilled to apply this knowledge or this process, then the result will be a natural thing. And this is really the mindset or the shift that we are trying to embed in our leadership team. They don't really ask about the end result, but they ask about the sustainable part of our processes, which is the purpose, process, and the people side. When we talk about lean, the history of lean goes back all the way to early 2010, and it started basically in the car industry. So the first thing it comes in mind when we talk about lean, it comes Toyota, Ford, who basically started the principles and the concepts of lean. Although at that time they were not known as lean principles, because they were called Toyota production system. They basically use certain phrases like just-in-time, waste reduction, pull system, and all these concepts, which is later on translated by the Americans in 1982 into the English, and then the word lean basically started as a brand or as a name for all those concepts. In early 1990s, from the last century, basically they started to promote and to advertise lean principle outside the car industry. So they start to apply it in the airplane industry, in food industry, in healthcare. And in Oman, basically we started in oil and gas industry recently in 2009, as we are going to basically describe later. Now, the common question that I always get when I presented this: how come principles, and so how come basically as a concept, or lean as a concept, which work basically 100 years back or 80 years back, it's still valid to work with the current situation, where we basically deal with a lot of IT, we deal with the new technologies, and it's basically in car industry where we have a production line, clear production line, and now we are going to apply it in oil and gas industry, where we deal basically with most of the uncertainties. And the answer in there, so the principles and the concept will remain the same. What we are trying to replicate or to adapt is the principle and the concept. However, the tools, the use of the tools, it has to be customized based on the culture, based on the type of the business, and based on the type of the process that we are working on. So what we did in BDO and what we did in the government sector, we copied or we learned the principles and the concept from the car industry, from Japanese, from the Americans, and then we try to customize the tools to apply it in our culture, in our industry, to suit our processes. And that's why we still can see benefits from applying lean principle and concept, although it's basically somehow it's an old concept, but still it could basically deliver benefits with the current innovations, with the current IT systems and the new technologies, which basically deal with new coding system. And this is the beauty of lean. The tools are adaptable, the tools are customized. It can be basically scalable to different processes. How lean is different from other improvements or other initiatives? When we talk about lean, we don't really talk about big project or big improvement. Every day a little up. There are really small incremental improvements. And also you see this guy will never be at the top. So every time we take a step, there is always a room for improvement. So it's endless journey. It's not like you are doing a project with billion reals or with the billions of US dollars, and then you achieve your target, and that is, there is no limit, there is no goal, there is always moving target, step by step, every day a one step up. Now the beauty about having this is actually when you have small incremental improvements, then you will get basically to achieve the result in very short time. And that what will build the momentum, that what will build the belief within the team. Because when you talk about deploying lean in an organization, you are talking about big change, and the change is not about only using the tools, it's not only about fixing or re-engineering your processes, but it's about building the culture, it's about changing the management system, it's about the philosophy, it's about basically the people, the belief of the people when it comes to the implementing the tools or the concept. So it's very important that you show the team or you show the people that you are going to work with an early benefits, and that what will basically make them jump into this process or into this concept, and they basically will be more than happy to start applying it. And that's what we saw. So this is not only something as a theory in a box, that's what we saw in the company, and that's what we saw also in our experience with the government. So when we started the lean implementation, it was really fake. It was unknown for them, a new concept. It's basically another tool, another set of tools. But when we start to apply it in certain processes, we start to basically see the low-hanging fruit and early benefits. That's what make people basically love it, and basically they were more than happy to jump into the journey and deploying it and take it further to the next step. And this is really the main concept, the difference between lean and the other initiatives. When we talk about lean, it's about waste elimination, how we can eliminate waste from our processes. And basically when we group the waste or the different type of waste, we call them 7+1 because originally they were 7. And the way you can remember them, you remember this guy, he's basically, his name is Tim, so Tim, and he's made of wood, so Tim wood, and then you apply the last I, Tim woody. So when we talk about the waste, we talk about unnecessary transport, unnecessary inventory that we have in our stores, unnecessary motion of our stuff, or basically the people who are going to deal with that process, waiting, you name it, waiting on decisions, waiting on approvals, waiting on material, waiting on personnel, waiting on everything. Overproduction, when you produce more than needed. People, they think that when you produce more, it's basically a good thing, but in lean world, this is a waste. And we should not produce unless we basically have somebody paying for that product or paying for that service. Over processing, and this is something that we saw everywhere. It's basically, it's doing more than needed. So for example, this cup or this mixture, it can be mixed by 1 spoon, but still the team decided to do it with 3 spoons. And you can take one of the examples in our processes, the approval process. So you have a document that only it might require 2 approvals, but still you can see 6 or 7 signatures in the same document. So that in the lean world is really waste, and we need to challenge it. We need to basically get the right approvals, so that to ensure that we are not reducing the time in the expense of the quality. So we keep the quality and we keep also the low cost and the low time. Defects, anything that is not basically up to the customer perspective. So anything that required rework is a defect. If somebody applied for example, for a surface, and that surface gets rejected because he missed one document, so the whole process called as a defect, because he has to redo everything. He has to rework the process to get it right. So the first one will be defect. Defect could be defect in items, in physical product. It could be in forms. Someone who fill a form, he missed, for example, some fields and it get retained, or maybe it could take any form. It could be in a service or a product or a simple form. Later on, there is one more waste that was introduced, and it's about the intellect waste. And what we mean by intellect waste is underutilization of the people skills. So you have, for example, somebody who is certified or who is specialized in certain thing, but because of the system, they are forced to basically keep chasing people or chasing material, or they are forced to not to do the work at the optimum manner, and that called basically intellect waste. So how we can basically reduce the intellect waste by having the right people at the right place at the right time, supported with the right process and clear purpose in order to achieve their goal, or in order to achieve the organization goal. So this is really very important, because when we coach our lean practitioners, we basically coach them and we train them, or we train their eyes to see this waste. So when we do the mapping, when we draw the process, we try to hunt for this kind of waste. And the good thing about lean, it's common sense. So it's not difficult to understand, but you need to practice it in order to master it. You can't really, and we'll discuss that later, you can't really get it from presentations or from videos. You have to basically practice it yourself. You have to train your eyes to see the waste, and basically use the proper tools to remove those waste from your processes. And that's why coaching is really a key element when it comes to deploying lean to any organization. Moving forward, lean, as I said, is not about tools and method, because this is what the people they can see. This is what basically obvious above the waterline. But it's more than that. It's a transformation. It's a transformation that involves behavior of the people, that involves mindset of the leaders and the managers. It involves changing the management system, the culture, the principles of the organization, and the philosophy. So if you only target the tools and method, you will get still the good result, but just what? The result will not be sustainable. So it will be something that you are going to celebrate for a short time, and then later on you will not have that sustainability element, which basically can take you to the next step. So in order to have that sustainable deployment, in order to have that transformation shift and the mindset, you need also to work on this element, which is the behavior, the mindset, the management system, the culture, and the principle and the philosophies. Those are coming top down from the organization, and the tools and method coming bottom up from the front line all the way to the basic scorecard of the organization. So it's a full philosophy, it's a full system, it's not only tools and method. Now, when we talk about lean tools, there are so many tools. There are tools that are basically designed to identify the value stream and the waste. And those are basically some of them: voice of the customer, Cybook, Gamba Walk, value stream mapping, 5 whys, some example Hilal mentioned in the introduction. We do have also tools that, so after you identify the waste, there is tools to eliminate those waste, and we have Pokayoki, Andon, Supermarket, Tactime, and all those are basically basics tools that help us to eliminate the waste. And there are certain set of tools that will help us to sustain and continuously improve the new process. Now, it depends heavily on the industry and the process that you are working on. So today, for example, in video and in the government, we are not using everywhere or everything in here. So basically, we selected the tools that will help us to eliminate a certain type of waste. So if we are after, for example, the space, the waste of the space, so we don't have enough space, so maybe 5S could basically be a proper tool for this kind of waste. Or maybe supermarket, where we have our suppliers keeping the inventory for us. So the main message in here is we don't have one tool that will fit everything, and based on the organization, you might not use everything as well. So this is the set of the tools that potentially we are going to use. But as we speak today, there are so many from those are not yet used either in BDO or in the government, because there is no need for them, or there is no basically waste already identified to be removed by this kind of tools. This is my last slide in the lean fundamentals part, and what it says in here: no matter how much you are going to read about lean, no matter how many videos or how many training you are going to attend, you will get only 10% out of all that. But really, in order to get skilled or to get to the knowledge level, or even, I mean, yeah, knowledge and skill level, you need to have that coaching element. You need to have a coach with you that will show you how to use the tools, how you hunt for the waste, and how you can apply a proper tools for the proper type of the waste. And then it goes by practice and practice and practice. It's always identifying some waste, select the right tool, and eliminate it, sustain it. Practice that different time, and that is basically the 70% of how you can learn by doing, or how you can build your lean skills. And that's why, so I'm not expecting you after this presentation that you are going to be capable or able to basically to apply lean project, or to conduct lean project, or to apply lean tools in certain processes, because that's only less than even 10%. The model that we selected in the company, and the one that we are basically applying now in the government, we basically attach, or we have lean coaches who are going to basically transfer their knowledge to the lean practitioners. So they will help them with the first, second, and third project, and after the third project, then they can stand alone and do the practicing themselves with the other processes. So that was basically in lean fundamentals. As I said, I tried basically to make it as short as possible, because we'll not have the time to cover the full science of lean. It will require hours and hours and hours, and maybe days of lecturing. Now we'll go to basically how we applied lean in video, representing the private sector. Now the principles, the concept might basically be the same. Again, it has to be customized. It depends on where you are and what kind of industry you are in. But always it starts with the big why. So why lean? This is, so remember the three B's: the purpose, the process, and the people. So you have to have that purpose clear, and that also applies when you start, or when you, or if you want to basically apply lean in any organization. You need to ask that question, and you need to have a clear answer, because that will be your starting point for your change management effort in convincing and having the people with you in this journey. So we started lean in sometime 2009 as a test, but officially in 2012. At that time, the big question that we ask ourselves: why we are going to apply lean nowadays? Because at that time in 2012, the oil price was almost $120 per barrel. So we are basically thriving in the high price, and there is no problem. So what's the need for change? Because normally people change when there's crisis. Like Toyota in 1950, after the second World War, they basically started with the principles of lean to get them out from the bankruptcy. But in our case, it wasn't the case. So why we are going to basically apply lean? Now, what video did, and I think it was really very successful in doing it, it predicted the future. So although in 2012, we were thriving in the high oil price of $120 per barrel, but we read the future, or predict the future. Now, we have three means of producing oil. So we have primary, and this is the cheap oil. This is basically the easy oil, cheap. It costs us roughly $5 per barrel. And we have the secondary means, or the secondary type, which is basically costing us around $12 per barrel. And we have what we call EOR, enhanced oil recovery. So this is the difficult oil, and this costs us $25 per barrel. Now, in 2012, our production was mainly from the primary and secondary. So from the $5 and the $12, and only 3% from the expensive oil, which is $25. Now, 10 years down the line or 12 years down the line, the picture will change. What used to be 3%, it will shoot to 27%. So almost 1/3 of our production will be from the expensive oil. What used to be 40% will drop to 29, and what used to be 75 will drop to 44. So if we don't really improve our way of producing oil, if we don't improve our way of tackling problem in oil production, we will not be in a position to sell the oil and gas to our stakeholder, to the government, in an economic way. So simply we will be out of the business. And that was really the rationale, and that was the reason behind applying lean in 2012, is how we can prepare ourselves to the future, for the future. So when we comes to the difficult days, then we can basically be ready, and we will be able to feed Oman economy with the right oil price. We did the check last year in 2019, and it's basically going in the direction of the expectation. So this one reduced from 40 to 35, reduced from 75 to 50, and this is basically comes time 5. So it used to be 3% and now it's 15%. So we are moving toward this, and we have to improve our ways of working. We have to produce the oil year on year in cheaper way, so that we can basically overcome the difficult oil prices. And you all know current oil prices is around $40 per dollar, 40 US dollar per barrel. And basically that also confirm our studies that it goes in this direction. So what we did, basically, we started our lean journey, as I said, as a test in 2009 and 2000 test, and we call this the discovery phase, discovering how we can apply the lean principles and tools and concept into our oil and gas. Because as I said, it started in car industry, and we cannot really copy paste everything from car industry. It has to be customized, and that was the testing in here. The results were really massive, very good result from the project that we started. So we start to move from the phase of discovery into the phase of enabling the culture. How we can ensure that our culture is enabled for long-term sustainability, because we are not after quick wins in here. Project will give us only quick wins, but if we are after sustainable production for basically for many years, then we need to start working about the items which is below the waterline, the culture, the philosophy, the mindset, the management system, and the behaviors of our management. And then after basically we build the basics, we move into more of transformation journey. Transformation taking BDO step by step. So we did not start it cross BDO or BAM BDO. We started in key directorates, where basically the value is more generated from those directorates, and slowly we expand our deployment into other areas. 2019 or late 2018, basically we covered everybody. So all the directors in BDO now experiencing somehow the lean transformation. They do have coaches, they do have lean managers, they do have lean tools everywhere. If you walk in the corridors of BDO, you will see basically the tools like the visual management, the value stream mapping, the cyborg to define project everywhere. So everybody in BDO, they heard about lean. They are at different levels. Some of them, they are at the lean practitioner level. Some of them, they have lean awareness level, and some even they are more specialized, like green belt, black belt in Lean Six Sigma. So this is basically our journey. Now, we cannot really claim there is a successful journey unless we start measuring the benefits out of this journey. And as we speak, basically, so these figures are from last year, so in 2019. So we basically have revenue or cost reduction of more than 1.4 billion US dollar. We do have also what we called classified as cost avoidance of more than 200 million US dollar. And there is too much basically, or so many improvements or gain in terms of time liberation. So we improve a process, we have enough time to do more of the value added activities. So our employees, instead of spending the days and the hours chasing and firefighting with the issues, we basically have more robust processes, and they can focus more on the value-added activities versus basically just trying to firefight with the daily difficulties. So this is in summary how we apply it in lean. As I said, I mean the main take in here is you can start from day one across the board. So if you want to apply it in an organization, you have to go through the different phases. You have to have that discovery phase, testing the water. You have to start thinking about enabling culture, and then you have to start basically taking the whole organization into a transformation journey. We later on, I'm going to share with you the key successful factor, what's made basically this journey successful. There is few items or points that we learned as we go. You might not find them in books, because this is really based on practice and based on what we observed and what we experience ourselves in this journey. Moving to the last bit of the session, which is deploying lean in the government. And the starting point was as Hilal mentioned, basically late 2018, where basically we get approached by implementation support and follow-up unit, which is known as Tanfeed, being approached basically by them to start taking lean concept and principles outside BDO boundaries, and how we can benefit the government sector from such principles, or from such journey or transformation. So basically we started the journey, and again, the first starting point, it has to be why we are going to apply it in the government. Now, so our case for change was basically our vision. We want to position Oman as an attractive environment for doing business. So how we can help Oman to basically bring more cash, to bring more business, to feed our economy. And that was basically the vision that we set together at that time. But again, this will remain a nice statement unless we have a measure, how we are going to measure our progress against this vision or this target or this goal. So at that time, we look at different measure, and we land on the report, which is issued yearly basis by the World Bank, called Ease of Doing Business Ranking. So basically, this report ranks 190 countries on how easy you start a business in this country. So, and our score in 2018 was 78 out of 190, which is considered as basically, frankly speaking, as low score. But that wasn't only the problem. The problem was Oman. In the last 3 years, we were going behind step. So we were 66. So this number, the lower is the better. So better to be at the top 10. So we were at 66. And then we basically go back to 71 and then 78. So we started the deployment last year. And Alhamdulillah, we could manage to return back to 68 by end of the last year. So November last year, the issued or the report, which is issued by the World Bank, give us 68. And there is another report that will be issued this November, or the coming November, and we are expecting also, inshallah, we will be ahead by another maybe 10 or 15 steps. So basically, this is how we measure our successful. And this is the basics that we use. There are different entities, and I will explain later what is the approach that we use. Now, this is the picture when we started in 2018. In order to achieve all this, we set a clear guiding principles. And this guiding principle, that's what we learn from BDO, that's what we learn from the companies and the factories that they applied lean around the world, because also we have a management visit early 2012 to basically understand what does it take to start or to deploy lean in an organization. So it starts always with sponsorship and governance. So from day one, we said wherever we are going to apply lean, we have to get the commitment and the sponsorship at the highest level of that organization. So if we talk about ministry, then the minister himself or herself with the undersecretary, they have to be involved in this journey. And basically also we said there is so many things in the government that require improvement and that require basically someone to look at, but we are not going to scatter our efforts. So we are going to focus on the value which is in line with the objective, which is positioning Oman as an attractive environment for doing business. So our selection of the process has to be linked to one of those KPIs that is measured in the World Bank, which is also a reflection of how attractive our environment is to do business. So this is basically aligning it with the value. And there is also a key principle in here that we said our coaches, they are not going to drive the improvement. The improvement has to be driven by the staff of the targeted entities. So the employees in the entities, they are going to apply the improvement, but they will be supported and coached by our lean coaches. And this is the element of sustainability and building the culture, building internal capabilities inside basically those entities. So when our coaches left later, I mean after leaves after 2-3 years, then the entities will be self-sufficient to run this journey forward. Of course, if we are going to depend on people and basically the employees, those employees, they have to be targeted and selected very carefully, and also they have to be given some time to work on those improvements, because they will not be a full-time staff. Those are part-time who are working on the normal job, but they will basically get additional support to drive their lean project. Again, if everything that we are going to do, we need to ensure that the principles are right. We need to link the top-down and the bottom-up approach to ensure that long-term sustainability is in there. So now these principles lead us basically to the high-level roadmap. And the high-level roadmap that we basically built, it was also again learning from our journey in video. So we started what we called project-based approach in order to get quick wins, in order to start showing good result, in order to start basically build that belief in the team and in the entities. We started with 6 lean projects. This year we started already with 6, and we are going to kick off another 4 starting from September onward, targeting building capability. We take it from project-based approach into embedding CI fundamentals, start to building island of excellence in these entities to take us all the way to the full lean management system. So when we talk about full lean management system, that take beyond 3 to 4, 5 years. It depends on how aggressive and the level of the sponsorship that we are getting from those entities. We started successfully in 2019, and I'm going to share also the result of that. 2020 going as per plan, slightly slow because of the pandemic of coronavirus. But I think we are going to catch up soon, and then we will be on target. So all in all, the roadmap is basically going as per plan, and we are getting the full support from everybody. Now, so this shows the governance structure and how we are basically managing these interfaces, or basically the key principles or the key personals in here. So we started with 5 different entities. We started with Ministry of Commercial and Industry, Manpower. We started with the Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Finance, and Muscat Municipality as a pilot, with the basically expectation that we are going to take all the learning from Muscat Municipality into the regional municipalities. So we have the sponsors, and the sponsors are the ministers in all the entities. And we have what we call project champion, because we have 2 levels. We have lean practitioner, the staff who are going to work on the project supported by the lean coaches, and we have the champions who are normally under secretary or the director general of that process. Now there is also lean steering committee, which is basically run in monthly basis, led by the Minister of ISFU and BDO MD, His Excellency Dr. Khamis Al Gabri and Raoul Rashidi. and basically they are escalating report or progress report every quarter to His Majesty. We as a support team as a project team, so basically we are supporting the team in program management and coaching support, and also we are getting the steer, and basically if there is anything coming from the lean steering committee, we ensure that we are applying it. So we kept it really at this level, at very high level, because again, sponsorship when we start any lean deployment is really key. And if we sense from day one that sponsorship is not at this level, is not at the minister and the undersecretary, we are not going to start. And that is really key. Alhamdulillah, we got full sponsorship and full support from everybody. They were really available, ministers themselves and the undersecretaries, whenever we need them and whenever there is any escalation required from their side. Of course, we build also key roles and responsibility for each of those roles. I'm not going to go through the details of this in the interest of time, but it shows exactly what's the role of the sponsor, what's the role of the project champion, and the lean practitioner, the team, and the lean steering committee. To also monitor the progress of our deployment, we have the lean dashboard, which is sent every Thursday. So every week we send the progress of the lean project. This dashboard goes basically to all the ministers, the sponsors, and the champions, and it gets basically also discussed in the lean steering committee. We have here the bars, the red and the green, which shows basically how much of intervention we basically require from the sponsors, what are the issues required to be resolved. So this is sent on weekly basis. Now, how we started the deployment? So we started basically by mapping or by doing value stream map. So we map the process from the time the investors they decide to start a business, and this investor could be local or could be foreign from outside Oman, till the moment where their actual business on ground, they start their actual business on ground. We map the process and we figure out there are almost 15 to 17 different entities that the investor has to basically has to visit in order to get the approvals, the license, and all the checks. Because of the limitation of the resources, and because of one of the key principles that we don't start with big scope, we need to start with limited scope so that we can contain it, we can test it. We started with 4 main entities: MOSI, Commercial and Industry, Minister of Housing, Muscat Municipality, and Manpower. We map the process and we figure out that the process take on average 10 months. So 10 months to complete the applications in these 4 processes, in these 4 entities, and still there is another 10 or 12 different entities that basically need to also get their approvals. From here, we basically selected 6 different projects, as I stated before, and we set a target for ourselves to move everything from 10 months into 1.5 months. So that was the challenge. Alhamdulillah, we closed all the projects, and the results showing in here. So, for example, for the industrial license and commercial registration, we managed to reduce it from 11 days all the way to 4 days, although the target is 2.5, but now we are going to take it to the next step to basically reduce it below 2 days. Construction permit. So when you apply for construction permit to build a house, it used to take 10 days, now it's taking 20 minutes. So even you cannot see it here in the scale, it shows 0 because it's only 20 minutes. Labor clearance, I'm not talking about labor clearance for personal use or for basically housemaid or personal driver. This is for big companies when they ask for 10 or 20 employees. It used to take on average around 90 days, and currently it takes a target 5 days, but currently on actual data, it takes 1.5 days to 2 days on average from 90 days. Construction completion certificate, after you complete your house building or your building, basically, it used to take 9 days, and currently it takes half day, 12 hours on maximum. Although we set the target at 3 days, but they could manage to do it in less than 1 day. For the 2 processes that selected in Ministry of Finance, both of them, they were at 60 days, and we managed to reduce the first one below 30 days and the other one below below 5 days. So this is basically the improvement that we are talking about. Now, these improvements are not on paper. These are something that tested, piloted with real cases. For example, for this one, construction permit, we tested in more than 600 applications in Al Amarat and Matrah municipality. So those are validated by actual applications and being monitored to ensure that whatever we come up with, it's basically something that can be applied and it's working in reality, not only as a concept on paper. So we managed to reduce the full cycle time from 10 months into 1.25 months. So from 10 months to 5 weeks, which is equivalent to almost 90% improvement. And this is basically the level of improvement that we are looking for. So it's always give you that 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% improvement. And again, I mean, it's like reducing the waste. So if somebody basically weight 100 kilogram and he want to reduce it to 70, the first 20 kg to reach to 80 is really very easy. But then to move it from 80 kg to 70, that might take longer. And this is what we did with this approach. So we get a quick wins, we improve, we have a step change in the performance by applying the first cycle of improvement. We will ask them to basically sustain it for a while, replicate it to the other entities or to the other surfaces, and then we will go back to them basically to move it to one step further. So for example, this one from 25, it might be to 20 or even 15 days. And this is the approach, step by step. Each time you take a step and then you sustain it to build on the next step. Now, all those improvements were basically announced in the media, and there is two purposes of doing that. One is so people, they know about it, and when they apply, if it gets basically longer, then they can give feedback to the entity, and then they can investigate and see where are the issues with respect to this process. But also the other one, it puts the entity under commitment that I have the confidence that I can do this in this timing, and that's why I make it visible to everybody that this process will take this timing. For instance, for example, to get electricity connection, currently it's done in one step in 1 day. And this is basically applied already in Muscat. We are starting now discussing with the other governors to basically replicate that across Oman. So always we start small scope in one area, we test the water, we test the principle, we do the improvement, sustain it, and then replicate it afterward to the rest of Oman. A next step, and I think this is my the slide before the last slide. So we started with one sector, which is manufacturing and industrial. But the aim is to lean this sector and also to start with tourism and mining this year. So we started already the discussion with the Minister of Tourism and the authorities with the public authorities of mining. And basically we are going to take the same approach like what we took with the manufacturing and industrial. Inshallah, from next year or the year after, we are going to start with the agriculture and fisheries, energy, logistics, and we'll take it step by step. So the concept in here, we don't want to start everywhere because that will scatter our focus. We want to focus on certain sectors, which also in line to Oman 2040 vision. And the value out of these sectors are really remarkable. And there is strategies to build it to the required level. Now, this is my last slide, and it says what are the key critical success factors in implementing lean, whether it's in government sector or in private sector. So first one, and this is really critical, top-down drive, ownership at very highest level. If it's company, then the CEO of the company, the MD of the company. If it's a ministry, then the minister himself. It has to be really at that level. Setting expectation, assigning responsibility at the highest level. And that's what I show you before, the roles and responsibility for the lean steering committee, for the sponsor, for the champion. So each one of those levels, they need to understand what's expected from them and what's their role in in driving this journey. Leadership education, so they have to be basically also trained on some of the lean principles, and that's why we have different level of training. We have lean manager for the leadership, and we have lean practitioner for the people who are going to build or work on the improvement. Internal capability building is really important because again, for long-term sustainability, you cannot depend on external coaches. External coaches will be there for certain time, but you have to build your internal capability within the organization supported by those coaches. Resourcing properly, you have to select those people carefully. So you can't really get anyone from your organization. They have to be high potential staff with high caliber who are really motivated for change. They really have enough experience in the organization to drive the improvement to the next level. Again, also, when we think about lean, we think about integrated value stream, end-to-end perspective, not silos mentality. And basically, this is one of the things that we faced in BDO and also in the government, where we have a process that cut across different entities, and how we can make that performance visible and how we can make them work all toward the same goal. It required belief, passion, commitment, bias for actions, ambitions. So basically, this is all. I tried basically to summarize the topic in 40 to 45 minutes. I'm not sure if I'm exceeding the time or not. Maybe Hilal, you can you can.
No, we have
So
8 minutes actually.
very good. Okay, so yeah, so basically this is what I have in terms of presentation, and thank you again for listening. If you have any question, if you need any clarification, so please, by all means, I will be more than happy to answer you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Nasser, for presenting lean history, lean tool, and also the impressive work that you are driving basically to deploy the lean journey in the public
It's a
sector.
pleasure.
Really, yeah, really, I shocked when I saw you are driving multiple initiatives in multiple and different sectors. It's really something we have to be proud of, and to be proud of the effort that driven by BDO to distribute the culture of lean. Actually, we're gonna start the Q&A session, and I can see there is a lot of questions, and most of them are from Ala Zarafi, the head of Oman National Young Professional Committee. Actually, Ala, he's asking, yeah, he's asking about the lean itself. True or false? Lean works best in manufacturing environment or workflow? I think there is a misconception about lean, and most of the people they think that it's suited perfectly in the manufacturing side.
Yeah. So basically, as I said, so if you talk about where it started, yes, it started in manufacturing world, but we proved through basically the practice and through the results that I just show, it can work also outside the manufacturing. So we apply it in government. It's basically, it shows a result. We apply it in oil and gas industry. And personally, I apply it at home, and it works also for me.
Fantastic.
So wherever there is a process, wherever there is a flow of value, lean can work.
Yes.
So it's not only for manufacturing. It started there, but as I said, principles, concept remain the same. Customizing the tools to apply it in different industry, in different processes, that is basically the duty of the coaches and the people who are going to work on the improvements.
Fantastic, and especially the BDCA cycle can be applied everywhere.
Exactly.
So another question from Ala: do we only see lean as a financial controlling practice? Is lean cost cutting program basically?
So lean improves basically key metrics or key value drivers, and normally we talk about 4 things. It could be more, but for anything we do, we want to do it with high safety. So the high safety, lower cost. So cost remains still one of the big pillars. Lower time, and high quality. So we are not targeting to reduce the cost and the time in the expense of the quality. So it's not only about cost, because also we do have projects that are not targeting cost. We do have projects that are targeting how we can make the task easier on the people who are working on
Exactly, yeah.
on these processes.
Yes, clear, Nasser. And also another question from Ala. He's asking, lean is a continuous practice. How we can assure that we don't compromise actually the sustainability of quality?
Yes. So as I said, there is different tool to identify the waste. There is different tool to eliminate them from the processes, and there is different tools to ensure the sustainability part. Now, so the like of leader standard work, the like of visual management, SOPs, all those are tools we are using in BDO in the government sector. We visited Toyota; they are using it till now.
Yes.
So yeah. So there is tools that basically will help for sustainability. We can take it also further because what we started also in the government for to ensure sustainability. Whenever we lean the process, because we know that we are moving toward Oman, or basically Oman al-Raqamiyya. So
Yeah.
so 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 what we are doing. So after we leaning the process, we take the process into the IT system and we automate the process. So there is no other way that people they can do it, so they have to follow exactly the automated process, step by step. Now the downside of that, if you want to do the second improvement in order to change an automated process, is a little bit harder because you need IT people, you need someone who knows the coding. Whereas if you have a process which is basically manual, you can agree with the team, you get the approval from your manager, and then you can change it immediately. So this is the compromise that you have to do. If it is
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
something that touching different area, like you're talking about Muscat and then Dakhliya, then Dhafar, Salala, you might need that systems and IT solutions to help you for sustainability and to help you also to ensure consistency. So the process is applied everywhere the same way.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, Nasser, another question. What's required for any organization to move from the old way of thinking to lean thinking? And
Uh,
how anyone can convince his leader actually to deploy the lean in his organization?
yes, so very good question. So what we start doing in video, for the ones who want to upstart, or for the ones who basically willing to start lean in their organization, we ask them to come and see how we apply it. So first they
Yes.
need to understand what does it take to basically apply lean principles or to be a lean organization. We are not there yet, by the way. I'm not claiming that BDO is a lean organization, but we are moving toward that goal, inshallah. And that's exactly what we did with our management. So in 2012, as I said, we have our management, they did a tour around the world. They visited more than 6 or 7 lean organizations, Toyota one of them, to understand what does it take, what is the role of the leadership. I mean, how much they should be involved, what changes in the structure, in the management style. And then it start by basically taking the first step, and taking the first step by selecting a small area within the organization to test the water, to basically start to build that internal capability inside the organization. My advice always, don't start big, start small and build on it. It required capability building in terms of attending training at all level, at management level and also at the practitioner level, and it takes that belief it's going to work. And if it's work in car industry, if it's work in health sector, if it's work in food industry, if it's work in
Exactly.
oil and gas, there is no reason why it shouldn't work in your industry. You have to have that belief inside you about the tool or about the concept.
Also, we have received actually the question from Ala. He's asking, we saw only the benefits of lean practices. Okay, what
Mhm.
we should be careful about while applying lean?
Okay, so lean, to apply it, it's basically, as I said, is a full transformation, and by itself is considered a change.
Yes,
Because when you apply lean, you are basically changing the way of working of the people. So there is, and you have to be basically careful of two things. There is the soft side of the change, which is the resistance of the people. It might be hidden resistance, not even a clear
exactly.
resistance. And basically how you motivate them, how you show them basically the benefits. And there is the challenges or the technical part of it, of the change, which is basically changing the processes. It might require changing some policies and standard, and that's what we observe. So anything that we touch is basically change the process. It requires basically that courage to look at the end-to-end result, not only in silo thinking. So you have different directories. They used to basically serve different scorecards, and now you are changing all that. They are all looking at the same
Yes,
scorecard. There is joint KPIs. It's really full. It's really full. It's different game, and those are the
exactly.
challenges that you need to acknowledge at the beginning, because if you have a change and there is no resistance, there is something wrong with your change. So
Indeed.
resistance is a natural thing in any change. Now it might be obvious, you can solve it, and it might be hidden resistance. You see it in the behavior and the actions of the people, and your management need to be basically careful and aware about all this.
Yes, I think, Nasser, we covered most of the questions. Finally, thank you very much, Nasser, for presenting the
You are
lean
welcome.
and the application and lean in the private and public sector. And we wish you all the best in driving, the
Shukran,
lean journey.
shukran jazilan for having me in here. It's a pleasure, and thanks for the guys who basically join us in both Twitter and YouTube. Thank you, Hilal, for the organizing it. I know
Thanks.
behind the
It's
scene
our pleasure.
We have Zakwani, and we have Khalid, who
Really,
basically also yes, who also basically were working a lot in preparing all this IT stuff. Shukran jazilan.
okay, thank you, Nasser. See you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.